This is TK Academy, where the T and the K stand for Team Knowledge for architects and designers. This course is over Specs and Tact, and this is included as one of our specialty courses. Our learning objectives for this course are the following: to be able to name the federal agency who conceived of Specs and Tact and is currently responsible for maintaining the system. To identify the federal agencies who currently subscribe to the United Facilities Guide Specifications, the UFGS, and the Specs and Tact system. To be able to explain what tags are and how they work within the Specs and Tact system. And to be able to describe what type of information is within the reports generated by Specs and Tact. Specs and Tact is short for Specifications Kept Intact. It is a software and a system that is used for developing and editing specifications that are used for federal projects. Specs and Tact was originally conceived of and developed by NASA in 1965. NASA still manages and maintains the system at the Kennedy Space Center. In the 1980s, Specs and Tact was adopted by two other federal agencies. In 1986, it was adopted by NAVFAC for the use on naval projects. Later, it was adopted by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in 1988 for use on Army and Air Force projects. Specs and Tact is utilized by architects, engineers, and specification writers within the federal agencies of NASA, NAVFAC, and Army Corps of Engineers, but is also used by those in private industry doing business with the three supported agencies. Both the software and the content is made freely available, and there is no cost for utilizing Specs and Tact on a project. What makes Specs and Tact different? At the user interface, it looks and behaves very much like a word processor. A user can manually enter information or delete information out. What makes Specs and Tact different is the automated system with a built-in quality check that allows a user to edit and modify standardized facility construction specifications to fit the specific project needs. Unlike a typical word processor, Specs and Tact uses a special tagging system like the one that would use to interface and tell a web browser how to display a web page, commonly referred to as HTML. Since we know that the special tagging system is what makes Specs and Tact different, what are these tags and how do they work? Within the standardized facility construction specifications, every bit of information within the sections are enclosed with tags at the beginning and the end, and these are marked with the symbols of less than and greater than. Every section begins and ends with a section tag. The end tag is always followed with a slash. All three parts of a section, articles, paragraphs, and subparagraphs, are all enclosed within tags. There are multiple types of tags that are utilized by Specs and Tact depending upon the type of information that is being represented. It is not important for the user to know all these tags. Most of these tags will be embodied within the text, and the user may not even be aware of their existence. The tags that are more relevant to the user will be highlighted with a designated color. The text that is affected by these tags will also be shown in that indicated color. Additions and deletions to the specification sections will be indicated in green and red respectively. The units of measurement may be done in English or Imperial or in the metric system, and these are shown as blue or dark red. A screen highlight is indicated by orange text. Tags are key in generating the quality check reports at the end. The tags that are key in the cross-reference and quality checks are the reference identifier, which is indicated in pink text, the section reference, which is indicated in violet, the submittal key, which is indicated in blue text, and the tailoring options, which are indicated by teal. Hyperlinks may also be included in Specs and Tact, and these tags are indicated by dark yellow. It is important to think of Specs and Tact not as a software, but rather as a system. Although there is a software component to Specs and Tact, it is much more than just a specification editing tool. When used properly, the process allows for the complete management of projects. The process begins with a selection of specification sections you need to complete the scope of work. These section templates are pulled from the United Facilities Guide Specifications, or UFGS, Masters Library. The project is defined by these guide specifications, which identify the scope of work of the project. The next step is to edit the specification sections to fit the specific needs of your project. Most specification sections are modified by deductive editing. This means that the section templates are all-inclusive and edits are made by reducing or eliminating content that is not applicable to the project. When done editing, the automated process and quality control checks will help identify errors within the document. These errors can be identified and corrected within the individual specification sections. When complete, you can publish your project manual with a choice of different formats. Before using SpecsIntact, you need to understand the basic terms. Masters is a term that SpecsIntact uses for the standardized specification templates. Typically, this is the United Facility Guide Specifications. Sections is the term for individual specification sections that are edited once they are copied from the masters and inserted into your project or job. All edits are done in the individual section documents. Jobs is another term for your projects, which include the specification sections copied from the masters and edited to the project specific needs. All jobs contain 3 different types of files. The SEC files are the native SpecsIntact files for all the edits are made. Each section is its own individual SEC file. There is one SEC file for every section that is included within your project or job. When all the edits are complete and the project is done, the project is processed and the individual SEC files become the PRM files. The PRM files cannot be edited. If edits are required, the native SEC file needs to be edited and then reprocessed to replace the existing PRM file. The third file type can be either Word or PDF files. These are the files that can be used for distribution or for printing. The SpecsIntact software is made up of 2 main components or applications. The first is the SpecsIntact or SI Explorer. This is where the project manual is assembled and all project management functions are done. The individual specification sections are compiled based upon the project's scope of work. From the SI Explorer, you can edit the job's formatting, run the reports, and produce the final project manual. The second component or application is the SpecsIntact or SI Editor. The SI Editor is what is used to make the edits to the individual specification sections. The SI Editor functions like a traditional word processing software. However, the SI Editor also provides the tools for you to make modifications to the system's tags. Another feature that is included in SpecsIntact is the ability to tailor a specification section based upon the federal agency. Tailoring options are a tagging option designated by the TAI tag that is used by the developers of the master specifications to set aside information that you can remove completely from the sections if it doesn't apply to the project you are working on. For example, there are tailoring options specifically for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, NAVFAC, and NASA that are built into the sections. If you know that your project is a U.S. Army Corps of Engineers project, you can pre-edit the section to remove all information pertaining to NAVFAC or NASA. Removing the tailoring options by pre-editing the sections is done in a screen that appears when you first open a new section for editing. This allows the tailoring options to be removed completely and they do not show up as revisions or other edits to the sections. When you create a new job or project in SpecsIntact, there is some key information that must be entered. You must give your job a job name. This identifies your job in the SI Explorer. It is limited to only 16 characters and cannot contain any symbols or spaces. You are also required to identify a job title. This can contain up to 64 characters and can also include numbers, symbols, spaces, in both upper and lowercase letters. The difference between a job name and a job title is that a job name is internal to the system. It is the way to identify your job amongst other jobs within the SI Explorer. The job name is only seen by the specification editor. A job title is the name of the project. It is what is included on your final published documents and is seen by others. While setting up a new job inspection tag, you are also required to identify what the source is for your primary master. In most cases, this is usually the United Facilities Guide Specification, or UFGS. You are also required to identify the submittal register format. The submittal register format references the primary master you have selected. If you have identified the UFGS as your primary master, then the submittal register format is automated and there is nothing else that needs to be done in this step. There's additional information that may be put into your job, but it is not mandatory. There's an option for you to enter the contract and solicitation number for the project. You can also identify the location of the project, and you can submit the names of the specification editors that are involved. Before you begin editing a job, you want to make sure that you have the most recent version of the master specification templates. If you are using the UFGS specifications, these individual sections are updated approximately every 6 months. When you launch the SI Explorer to begin editing a job, it will typically ask you if you want to download and update the most recent version of the master specifications. The first step is to populate your job by adding the appropriate individual sections that are applicable to the project. A good place to start is with the master table of contents with the scope included. Provide this to the designers who are involved with the project and ask for their input to identify all the sections that they think they will be needing for the project. Once you receive this input from the design team, you can begin adding these sections into your SI Explorer. There are 2 important questions that must be answered before you begin editing the job in Specs and TAC. The first is, what will be the units of measurement for this project? Will they be in English or metric? Both can be used, but it is often rare. The second question will be, what federal agency is this for, and will any tailoring options need to be removed from the project? When you create a new job in Specs and TAC, there are 2 sections that will be automatically populated in the SI Explorer. These are sections 013300, which is the submittal procedures, and section 014200, which is the sources for reference publications. These sections are automatically added because all other sections will include submittals and references. The technical specifications will include tags that will tie back to these 2 individual sections at the beginning of the project. All other sections are added to the job by selecting the individual sections from the list of the masters or by copying the SEC file from another existing job. Specs and TAC prescribes to the CSI master format system for numbering divisions and sections within a specification. The basic specification section number is 6 digits, starting with the first 2 digits identifying the division number. Often after the 6-digit section number, there is a decimal followed by additional numbers. These numbers after the decimal are the 5th level designator that identifies which branch of the government a particular section has been developed for. The UFGS 5th level designations are for Army 10, Navy is 20, Air Force is 30, and NASA 40. When you see this 5th level designation after the section number, you know that the specification specifically applies to that federal agency. Edits to the technical specifications should always be performed by the designers of record for the project. However, it is also recommended that only one person edit the sections within Specs and TAC, and that all sections are kept within the job. Best practice is to provide a printed or electronic version of the unedited template specs to each of the designers for markup. The designers make the revisions to the unedited template by marking up the document, and then providing that marked up document to the specification editor for those changes to be implemented within Specs and TAC. Edits to the sections within Specs and TAC should always be done with the revisions showing. This allows the editor to see the tags when editing the specs. It is very difficult to edit properly when the tags are not displayed, and it is impossible to determine exactly where the cursor is. Sometimes the cursor could be before the tag, in the middle of it, or even after the tag. Therefore, it's important to be able to see the tags when you are making the edits. Edits can be made to add or delete content by using the common word processing functionality. There is also a toolbar located at the top of the SI editor to ensure the proper use of tags within the content. All edits are done within the SEC file using the SI Explorer. It is not possible to make edits in the SI Explorer. When you double-click a section within the SI Explorer, it will automatically be launched into the SI editor for you to make your changes and modifications. Your edited section is automatically saved to the SI Explorer. When all changes and edits have been completed, these files may be processed and published from the SI Explorer. The Specs and Tact file then provides these sections in either a Word document or a PDF format. Where all these tags come into play is at the end when you begin to do your quality assurance checks and reporting. Specs and Tact provides several reports that ensure quality control in a finished project manual. The reports that are generated by Specs and Tact include the following: address verification, bracket verification, reference verification report, which is for duplicate references, reference verification report, which is for unresolved references, section verification, submittal verification, and reference title report, which is for title discrepancies. The address verification report will list any reference organization that appears in a reference article of the section without a corresponding listing in either the sources for reference publication in section 014200 or the supplemental reference list. All references must be listed in the section and in the reference article the same way. They are case sensitive and must be identical down to the number of spaces within the text. When editing a section, there are choices that must be made. Those choices will be contained within brackets. The bracket verification report identifies all brackets that are remaining within the text of the section. All brackets must be deleted from a section before the section can be considered complete and fully edited. Three types of reference verification reports that are generated by Specs and Tact. The duplicate reference report lists all references that are found in the reference articles of the sections and duplicated in the supplemental reference list. The unresolved reference report lists all references that appear in the text of the section but is missing from either the reference articles of that section or the supplemental reference list. The reference title discrepancy report lists reference identifiers with conflicting reference titles and two or more section reference articles. The conflicting titles are frequently differing dates on the same reference, indicating that one area has an outdated reference. Submittal verification is very important for what submittals are going to be required on your project. The submittal verification report lists sections that do not cite submittal items in both the submittal article and elsewhere in the text of that section. Submittal items missing from either location, the submittal article, or elsewhere in the text. Identify submittal items that are not listed in both the articles of that section and in section 013300 submittal procedures. And it also identifies submittal discrepancies that are missing from section 013300 submittal procedures. The section verification report will list all sections that are referenced within sections but that are not contained within the job. For example, if an electrical section references a fire suppression section but there is no fire suppression sections within the job. The submittal register is one of the more important items that is generated by Specs and Tact. It is a log of all the things that are to be submitted during the project. The items tagged as submittals in the specifications sections automatically create a submittal register when the job is processed and printed. The submittal register is generated at completion of design. It is included with the reports combined into the project manual and provided to the government and the contractor. On a design-build project, the government and the contractor will need to scrub the submittal register to determine which submittals are or are not required and which submittals are to be reviewed by the government. Those submittals not reviewed by the government are provided to the government as for information only, or FIO. The scrubbed submittal register is provided back to the design team for preparing the final specifications. Submittals that the government are to review are designated with the letter G. The submittal register is regenerated with the final specifications and provided to the government and the contractor. A submittal on the register that has the letter S indicates that it is a sustainability submittal and is typically reviewed by whichever team member is assigned the task of verifying and certifying the sustainability tracking on a project. When the submittal register is generated at the end of the project, it can also be exported into an Excel spreadsheet. For projects involving the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the submittal register is uploaded into their RMS QCS system, which is used for tracking receipt and review of submittals. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the actual Specs and Tact software. I've gone ahead and launched it. When you first start, it will start you in the SI Explorer. So this is how the screen is set up. We have the left side, which is our navigator for our jobs and our masters. You can see right now jobs, we don't have any jobs in this yet. It's a blank one. We're going to create a job. But masters, I've already loaded the UFGS specs in here. And so when we click on that, then it's going to populate on this right side all the different sections that are included in this template. So all these templates, these are all the SEC files, and as I scroll through, you can see there are a lot in here to work from. And way at the bottom here, it even says we have 779 different files, different templates to work with in this UFGS specs. So this is where we create a new job, and it's quite simple to go up to the toolbar here at the top and click the one that says New Job, and it brings up this window. And there's a lot of information we can put in here, but what's required is indicated by these red asterisks. That's the information we have to have in order to start a new job. So the job name, we are limited to only 16 characters in this without any spaces or symbols. Your title is where you have more flexibility. You have up to 60, and you can include spaces and characters for this. The other key part of information you have to have on this is indicating what your primary master is. We only have one loaded in here, so that's what we're going to use. But if you don't have these three things, you cannot create a new job. There are other things that can be done in here. We're not going to go through that. Just to point out that these three things are required. We hit OK, and as you can see, it creates a new job over here in our navigator, and it also brings up this window. So this is the start of our job. And down here on the bottom, these two sections were automatically placed in the project. Section 013300 for submittal procedures, and section 014200 sources for reference publications. This comes in on every new project because your other sections will reference that. So at the top here, these are all of our UFGS specification templates, and they're organized by division, and you can expand this to the individual sections that are included in here. And it's a matter of going through here and selecting which ones you want to add to your project. So we're going to start here with section 033000 cast in place concrete. That's a pretty common one. So we select that, we hit add, and you can see then it populates it down here. These are the ones that are actually in the job. So the first step is going through and is identifying some of these sections to build what your project is. So we're going to add unit masonry and structural steel, and in division 6 rough carpentry. So you can select several of them and then add them all at one time. Again, you see they get populated down here in the project. So once we've done that, we've kind of built our job based upon the sections, our scope of work. We hit OK. Now this screen automatically comes up, and this is our tailoring for the individual sections. So this starts off, this is all the tailoring that is available, and everything that starts off is checked. Well, this will be in the project unless we remove it. So let's say we're doing an Army project, which means we don't want Navy. So rough carpentry at the bottom here, we're going to deselect Navy, and that's going to remove the Navy tailoring from that section. So there's other items in here other than the branches, but we're going to remove everything that has to do with Navy, because we're going to be doing a Army Corps of Engineers job. Here's NASA, we're going to remove that too. And hard copy submittals, that's not really done anymore, so we're going to remove that. And we're going to say that this is a design build project, so we're going to remove design bid build. So this is the tailoring that is going to be remain in the project. Everything that is checked, everything that is not checked is going to be automatically removed from the project. We hit OK, and see it tailors those three sections, and now it's brought it into our project. So now we have our project over here, and this is the content of our project, so the different specification sections that are in it. Now there's a lot of things that can be done from within the SI Explorer, but one thing we cannot do is edit these sections. To edit a section, let's indicate unit masonry here. If you double click on it, okay, it's going to open up, this is the SI editor. So you see at the bottom of programs that we have open, this is the SI Explorer. Now the SI editor has been launched. And automatically brings up our box again, verifying the tailoring options for this section. We've already done that, so I'm just going to click OK. So this screen looks very similar. We have it split in two functions. We have on the left side is our navigation for the different parts, paragraphs, and subparagraphs within the specifications. And then on the right, this is essentially our word processing function where we are able to add or subtract edits from the section. So we can navigate through here, which is by clicking onto this, and some of these expand out. But let's just start from the beginning here and look at our word processing. So another thing I should point out here at the very top is our toolbar. This is some different features than what we have in a word processor, since we are dealing with Specs Intact. The ones I want to point out here, there's three key ones here at the top. This one has a tag with the glasses. That's to view our tags. So right now this looks like a pretty generic, basic spec, but we know that tags are very important. If we click on this, now we see all of our tags come in. We can visualize these. Our tags are identified as the text between these greater than and less than signs. So everything has a tag. It begins and ends with a tag. Okay, so when we're making edits, it's pretty important to leave that on so we know where that tag begins and where it ends. I'm going to declick that for right now. And the next one is our editor's notes. So if you're familiar with specification writing at all, most systems have notes in there to help the editor along. Kind of gives clues, hints, tips on how the spec should be edited. Specs Intact is no exception. And usually these are indicated by a line of stars, and then all the notes, and then it ends again with a line of stars before it goes into the next section. So this is really just a visual tool to help with editing. You can have them on or off, it doesn't matter. I usually leave it off, and unless there's I have some specific question, I might flip it on, take a quick look, and then turn it back off again. And then the last one I want to point out is this text with a line through it, and then the glasses. And so this is where we don't have any edits in here right now. I'm going to probably do a couple so you can see, but this shows the things that have been omitted or removed from a specification section. So again, we should always do edits with the tag bar on, and I always like to start with part 2. I'm going to kind of scroll way down here into part 2 somewhere. Okay, so so we want to, let's say we want to remove this text here. Okay, so the tags are on. Here's the beginning of the text itself, and the end of it between these two tags. Okay, so we can highlight this all, and we can delete it. And now you can see, since I have this turned on, it struck through this and made it red. Okay, so now we know that this is not going to be here. If we flip this, that text disappears. We don't see it anymore. Okay. The other thing we can do is, let's say within this text we want to add something. I'll put the cursor where it is, and I can just start typing. So this text that I added in here, it automatically put in these tags for ads at the beginning and the end and made our text green to indicate that it was something that was added into the template. So if we click the, go back up here and click the toggle, we can see anything that was deleted is no longer seen. And then also if you click the tags, now you can see right here where I had you see these other colors in here with tags. So the blue with the sub before and after. This is a submittal tag. And when you add something in there, a submittal in part 2, if you go back up to part 1 into the submittal article, you can see that the corresponding information is in here, whether it's a shop drawing, product data, mock-up. You can see the submittal item that is required, and then a tag, G in this case for government, for review, or if it's going to be someone else that is reviewing that section. Going back to part 2, you see a lot of this pink text in here. That's a reference identifier, and again that's going to come back up to the front, to the beginning, and tie in with one of these items here at the beginning of your spec for references. So when you're all done editing this, again, you can use these toggle back and forth to kind of see how it looks and reads. You're simply able to save this and then close the editor, and it takes you back to the Explorer. Now this is saved within the project, so if I want to do more editing, I simply just double click it. Again, launches the editor. Again, it's asked me if I want to do any tailoring, and I can continue to edit this section in here. So when I'm all done doing my edits in here, I'm ready to print and publish. Again, go back up to the toolbar for the print and publish tag, and you have a lot of different options in here you can pick from. You can print and publish just the individual section, or if you finish an old project, you want to do everything, you select all sections. Then the next tab over here, reports. Again, reports is a lot of your quality assurance. You can run these reports in here. You also have the option of doing your submittal register, checking that. You have a project table of contents, which is your entire project. You can usually do that without scope. And then you have a table of contents for each section. So each section that is in your project would print a table of contents if you select that. Options, you can show the color text in there, the color tags, or if you want to do everything black and white, you can remove that. You have another chance here to edit your units of measurement if you want to switch to English, metric, or both. Your paint range or print range, how far you want to print, and so on. And then this is a pretty important one, the headers and footers. So it will automatically print your job title and job name up here unless you want to put something else in. You can manually adjust that, the headers and footers for here, and then indicate which printer you want to print it at. And you have the option of printing as a PDF or exporting it as a Word document. So we're going to go ahead and just kind of print this, all these sections here, and you can print and publish, and it will go through this process. And I had all those reports generated in here too, and I did that on purpose because I want to be able to show you back in the Explorer, SI Explorer, what this looks like. Okay, so underneath my project file, now it also created a new folder for PDF files. And so here are all the PDFs that have been generated. These are all the individual sections that we've indicated. Let's print those, and now here we also have our reports. So we can double click these reports if we want to right here, and it will bring up the PDF. And we really haven't done a whole lot of edits on this, so we're going to see a lot of things indicated on this report. So this is what the report looks like. This is the bracket verification report, and it indicates to us the section, subpart, and how many brackets we still have remaining in there that we have to go through and clear out and edit out of the project. So as you start to get close, you run these reports and you find out where you still have things remaining that have not been addressed, or things that are missing or duplicate references, and you keep going back and forth until you generate a complete clean project. You also have this other folder in here for process folders. These are your PRN files. So these are good for transmitting, but these cannot be edited. So if you want to make a change, you have to go back into the project, into the SEC files, open these in editor and make your changes, and then republish them. This brings us to the conclusion of this TK Academy course on Specs and Tact. If you enjoyed this course, please give it a thumbs up and leave us a comment. Also, remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos like this and other great content from TK Architecture.